Lena Holt finished her shift in the spaceport workshop with tired hands and grease on her face. She was a quiet mechanic, the kind who worked hard, spoke little, and kept her head down. She never expected anything special to happen in her life. She repaired broken ships, changed power coils, and adjusted thrusters. That was her simple routine. But on this day, something unusual happened. Her co-workers, a group of loud and playful technicians, gathered around her locker with strange smiles. Lena felt uneasy the moment she saw them whispering. They were always joking among themselves, but today their smiles looked sharper. One of them, Jax, leaned on her locker and said, "Lena, guess what? You've got a blind date tonight." Lena blinked in confusion. What? A blind date?" Jax repeated. "Someone important saw you last week and asked about you. He wants dinner with you at the Starview Lounge." He spoke with excitement, and a few others chuckled behind him. Lena shook her head. "No, that must be a mistake. Nobody wants a date with me." "Trust us," another coworker said. "He's waiting there right now. You should go. Don't keep him waiting." They kept insisting, and although Lena felt strange about it, a small part of her wondered if it could be true. Maybe someone had noticed her for once. Maybe someone actually saw her as more than a mechanic hiding behind tools and oil stains. Even though she doubted it, she allowed herself a little hope. After her shift, she cleaned her face, tied her hair neatly, and put on the best clothes she owned, which were still simple and plain. She walked to the Starview Lounge, a beautiful restaurant high above the spaceport. Big windows showed the stars like diamonds. The place felt too fancy for her, and her heart beat fast as she stepped inside. A host greeted her politely. "Welcome. Do you have a reservation?" "Someone invited me," she said softly. The host looked confused. The servers looked confused. Nobody said they were expecting her. Lena's worry grew stronger. She looked around the tables, hoping to see someone waving her over. But nobody did. Everyone was busy with their dinners and talks. Then she heard laughter from behind her. Her co-workers were sitting together at a corner table, hiding half their faces behind menus, but not well enough. She could see them pointing at her. She could see them laughing. The truth hit her instantly. It was a prank, a mean one. Her throat tightened. Her hand shook slightly. She felt heat rising behind her eyes. She wanted to vanish, to disappear into the floor. She could not believe she had let herself hope for something better, even for a few minutes. She turned quickly, ready to walk out before anyone else noticed. But someone noticed. A man sitting alone near the window watched everything. He had sharp eyes, neat silver hair, and a calm posture that did not match the noisy world around him. He had been quietly observing since the moment Lena entered. Now, as she tried to leave, he stood up slowly. Lena almost bumped into him. She stepped back, embarrassed, and looked down. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You did nothing wrong," the man said softly. His voice was firm but gentle. "You should not leave because of them." He glanced toward the laughing table. Lena did not know what to say. She wanted to tell him she was fine, that she did not care. But she did care. The joke hurt more than she wanted to admit. The laughter grew louder. One co-worker even called out, "Hey, Lena, did your date stand you up?" She felt her heart sink. She wanted to cry but forced herself not to. The man beside her lifted his head and looked directly at the co-workers. His expression stayed calm, but his eyes became sharp, almost dangerous. He took one step forward, like someone who had made a decision. Lena whispered, "Please, you don't need to." He raised his hand gently to stop her words. "I do," he said. Then he spoke, but not loudly, not angrily, just clearly. "Enough." The single word cut through the room. The laughter stopped immediately. The co-workers froze, and a few diners turned their heads. Something about the man's voice carried authority. Strong, confident, unshakable. Jack stood up slowly. "Sir, we were just—" The man's eyes narrowed. "You were humiliating someone who did nothing to you. That is not a joke. That is cruelty." The entire restaurant went silent. Lena looked up at him, confused. Who was this man who defended her so easily? Why did his voice make the room still? Her co-workers stared at him with fear now, not amusement. One whispered, "Is that Admiral Spoke?" Lena felt her breath catch. The name was famous across the galaxy. The leader of the interstellar fleet, a man who commanded entire armadas. And he was standing beside her. Her fake blind date prank had just become something much bigger than her co-workers ever imagined. Lena stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat. She never expected anyone to defend her, especially not someone like Admiral Spoke. The restaurant remained silent, and everyone waited for his next words. Even the air felt still. The Admiral looked at the group of co-workers again. His expression had no anger, but it carried a quiet strength that made people sit straight. He was not loud. He did not shout, but his voice had weight. He said, "You treated her like entertainment. You did not think about how she would feel. You did not think about the harm." Jax tried to speak. "Sir, it was just a joke." "Then you have poor judgment," the Admiral said simply. Jax shut his mouth instantly. His face turned pale. The others looked down at the table, unable to meet the Admiral's eyes. Lena felt small, yet protected at the same time. No one had ever spoken for her like this. She started to whisper, "Sir, please, it's fine. I don't want trouble." The Admiral turned to her, and his expression softened. "You should not accept disrespect just to avoid trouble," he said. "Respect is not too much to ask." Lena lowered her eyes, unsure how to respond. She felt a mix of embarrassment and gratitude. The Admiral looked back at the restaurant staff. "A table for two," he said calmly. "By the window." The host nodded quickly and almost stumbled while preparing the table. The staff moved fast, as if they feared disappointing him. Lena's heart jumped. She shook her head lightly. "Wait for two? Me?" "Yes," he answered. "You came here for a dinner. You should not leave without one." He paused. "Unless you prefer to go." She hesitated only a moment, then nodded. I'll stay." The Admiral gave a gentle smile. It was small, but it made Lena feel like she mattered. They sat at the window, looking out at the stars hanging over the city. Lena kept her hands folded in her lap, unsure how she should behave. After all, she was sitting across from the most important military officer in the sector. He spoke first. "I know you must be wondering why I stepped in." Lena nodded. "Yes, I don't understand." "I have watched you before," he said. "In the docks. You repaired one of my scout ships last month. You worked with focus and skill. I notice." Lena blinked in surprise. "You noticed me?" "Yes," he said. "Very few mechanics can understand the older engines. But you do. You work with patience and logic. Those traits are rare." She felt her face warm. No one had ever praised her like this. Most people barely notice her at all. The Admiral continued, "I came tonight to speak with you, not for a date, but for something important. Something only someone like you can help with." Her breath caught again. "Someone like me?" she repeated. "A mechanic who sees what others overlook," he said. "A person who stays calm under pressure. Someone who does their work without expecting reward." Lena felt her chest tighten. The words felt unreal. Before she could speak again, the Admiral added, "I did not plan to reveal myself here. I was going to speak to you privately after your shift, but what your co-workers did forced me to act sooner." She looked down at her hands. "I'm sorry you had to see that." "You did nothing wrong," he said firmly. "They were wrong, not you." Lena felt tears in her eyes again, but this time they were different. She quickly blinked them away. A server placed water on the table, trying not to shake from nervousness. Lena gave a small smile to help calm him. The Admiral watched her quietly, noticing everything. Then he leaned forward slightly. "Lena Hope, I need your help with a mission." Her heart skipped. "A mission?" He nodded. "My flagship has a damaged engine. Not an ordinary engine. Something ancient. Something our engineers do not understand. But you might." She stared at him in disbelief. "Why me? There are hundreds of trained fleet engineers." "Trained," the Admiral said, "but not gifted in your way." Lena never thought of herself as gifted. She thought of herself as a worker. Someone who fixed problems because no one else wanted to. I want to show you something, he said. He stood up and offered his hand. Lena hesitated, then took it gently. His hand was steady and warm. They walked out of the restaurant together. Her co-workers lowered their heads as she passed, too afraid to look at the Admiral again. Lena did not say a word to them. She did not need to. Outside, a sleek transport ship was waiting. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Lena stopped, staring in shock. A personal transport from the Admiral was not something ordinary people ever saw. He looked at her. Will you come with me? Lena took a deep breath. She felt fear, excitement, confusion, and hope all at once. Finally, she nodded. Yes, I'll come. The Admiral gave a small, approving smile. They stepped inside the ship, and the doors closed softly. Lena knew that her life, which had always been simple and quiet, had just taken a path she never expected. And all of it began because the Admiral spoke. Lena sat quietly in the Admiral's transport ship as it flew toward the military docks. Her hands were folded tightly together, and her heart beat fast. Everything still felt unreal. One moment she was the target of a cruel prank, and now she was sitting beside Admiral Kale riding on the way to his flagship. She kept wondering if she was dreaming. The Admiral sat calmly across from her, reading data from a small screen. Even in silence, his presence felt strong. After a few minutes, he looked up and said, "You don't need to be nervous." Lena nodded shyly. "I've never been on a ship this important before." "You will be fine," he said. "I chose you for a reason." His words settled her a little, though she still felt unsure. She tried to relax as the ship landed smoothly inside a large hangar. When the doors opened, Lena stepped out and stared in awe. The Admiral's flagship, the Vigilant Dawn, was enormous. Bright lights reflected off its silver hull, and dozens of officers stood at attention. As she followed the Admiral inside, people moved aside with respect. Some stared at Lena curiously. She felt small and out of place, but the Admiral's steady steps made her keep walking. They entered a deep engine chamber filled with strange machines and glowing wires. The room was colder and darker than the rest of the ship. At the center of the chamber stood an engine unlike anything Lena had ever seen. It was round, made of dark metal with symbols she could not read. It pulsed slowly with a faint blue light, almost like it was alive. Lena took a step closer. This isn't human technology." The Admiral nodded. "Correct. This engine was found on a derelict ship, drifting near the outer rim, a ship older than any record we have." Lena circled the engine carefully, studying every curve and joint. The design was strange, both simple and complicated. Something about it felt familiar, though she could not explain why. "Why is it here?" she asked. "We tried to study the ship," the Admiral said, "but none of our engineers understood its systems. Except for one thing, this engine still functioned. So we brought it here to learn from it." Lena crouched beside an open panel. Inside, she saw coils twisted in ways she had seen only in puzzles from old machines. She reached out carefully but did not touch. She just scanned the structure with her eyes. "This is smart," she whispered. "It adjusts itself. It changes shape to fit energy flow." The Admiral raised an eyebrow. "You can tell that just by looking?" Lena nodded. "It's like the engine is thinking. It adapts, but only if someone understands where to guide it." She paused. "It's almost like it's waiting." "For what?" the Admiral asked. "For someone to fix it the right way," Lena said. The Admiral looked at her with growing interest. Then he walked to a control screen and pressed a button. A hologram of the engine appeared, showing weak energy levels. "Last week," he said, "the engine started failing. We do not know why. And worse, we found signs that someone tampered with it." Lena stood up quickly. "Tampered? You mean sabotage?" "Yes," he answered. "Someone tried to break it, but not enough to destroy the ship immediately. Just enough to fail during our next mission." Lena felt chills. "Who would do that?" "We are still searching," he said. "But anyone who understands even a part of this engine is rare. That is why I need someone who studies things with patience. Someone who sees details others ignore." Lena swallowed, realizing what he meant. Me? Yes, the Admiral said. I need you to examine the engine. Tell me what is wrong, and if you can, repair it. Lena took a slow breath. She felt fear, but also a strange excitement. She stepped closer again and looked deep inside the machine. The parts were damaged, but the pattern did not look natural. Some wires were cut too neatly. Panels were loosened in ways that matched a human hand, not an alien one. This was done on purpose, Lena said softly. And whoever did it knew the engine would react. It's weakening itself now because something inside is blocked. She pointed at a dark corner under a cluster of tubes. There, something doesn't belong. The Admiral knelt beside her. Can you remove it? Maybe, Lena said. But if I pull the wrong piece, the whole thing could shut down permanently. He nodded. Take your time. She worked slowly, using her small toolkit. She listened to the low hum the engine made. She felt the vibration beneath her fingers. And she followed a logic that came from instinct, not training. With gentle movements, she uncovered a thin metallic device hidden inside, a tiny sabotage module, almost invisible. This is it, she whispered. This was draining the engine. The Admiral looked impressed. You found it faster than any fleet engineer. Lena placed the sabotage device on a tray. Someone from inside the ship must have done this. Yes, the Admiral said. And that means the danger is not over. Lena looked at him with worry. What happens now? The Admiral straightened. Now, Lena, we find the traitor, and we keep the ship safe. Lena felt fear again, but also determination. She touched the engine softly. I'll help. I'll fix whatever is broken. The Admiral nodded with trust. I know you will. And for the first time, Lena felt she belonged somewhere important, right beside the engine that should not exist. Lena stayed in the engine chamber after finding the sabotage device. The room felt colder now, as if the metal walls were holding their breath. The strange engine hummed weakly, still recovering from the damage someone had caused. She wiped her hands and checked control readings again. The numbers were better, but not stable. The Admiral stood beside her, watching quietly. He looked calm, but his eyes were sharp. He was thinking deeply. Lena could feel tension in the air, like something dangerous was close. Whoever put that device inside the engine, she said softly. They knew what they were doing. Yes, the Admiral said. And they are still on this ship. Lena felt her stomach twist. The ship was huge, full of officers, workers, and guards. Anyone could be the saboteur. Anyone could be watching her right now. The Admiral continued. We told no one about bringing you here. No one should know you are the one repairing the engine. Lena lowered her voice. But someone might guess. He nodded. That is why you must stay careful. Do not wander alone. She agreed, though she did not know how to stop her heart from beating too fast. She turned back to the engine, focusing on the next repair. She pulled out damaged coils and replaced weak wires. She worked slowly and carefully, listening for changes in the humming sound. After an hour, the engine lights brightened. The energy flow improved. Lena smiled softly. It's getting stronger. You did well, the Admiral said. Lena felt warmth rise in her chest. She was not used to praise, especially not from someone so important. But just as she reached for another tool, the lights in the room flickered. The engine gave a low, warning pulse. Lena frowned. That's not normal. Before the Admiral could answer, the door to the chamber opened with a sharp hiss. A tall officer stepped inside. His uniform was neat, his steps firm, but his eyes were too cold. Lena recognized him. Commander Varen, one of the Admiral's top officers. Admiral, Varen said, I received reports that you brought someone unauthorized into the engine chamber. I came to investigate. Lena felt something wrong immediately. The way he looked at her was not curiosity. It was anger and fear. The Admiral remained calm. Commander Varen, you are not needed here. Return to your station. Varen didn't move. You should not bring outsiders to classified equipment. Lena stepped back slowly. The way he stared at the engine told her everything. He knew this machine. He knew where she had found the sabotage device. And he wasn't surprised. Her breath caught. She whispered, "Admiral, he knows." The Admiral understood instantly. Varen pulled something from his belt, a small pulse blade. The blue glow flickered as he activated it. "I didn't want it to come to this," Varen said, "but you forced my hand." The Admiral pushed Lena behind him. "Commander Varen, you are under arrest." "No," Varen said. "You are." He lunged forward. The Admiral reacted fast, pulling a stun baton from the wall. The room echoed with sharp sparks as the two clashed. Lena stood frozen for a moment, watching the blue lights flash as the Admiral blocked Varen's blade. "Lena, go!" the Admiral shouted. She snapped out of her shock. She ran to control panel and hit the emergency lock. The door sealed, trapping them inside but preventing the alarm from spreading. Varen tried to get past the Admiral, moving toward her. She grabbed the nearest tool, a heavy wrench, and held it tightly. Her hands shook, but she did not let go. Varen charged at her. The Admiral struck his arm to stop him. The blade flew out of Varen's hand and clattered across the floor. Lena acted on instinct. She swung the wrench at Varen's leg. It wasn't strong, but it made him stumble. The Admiral seized a moment and struck Varen with the stun baton. The officer collapsed to the floor, unconscious. The engine chamber fell silent, except for Lena's fast breathing. The Admiral picked up Varen's weapon and shut it off. "You saved yourself well." Lena shook her head. I just reacted." "That is courage," he said. "Real courage." Lena looked at Varen, lying on the floor. "He would go destroy the ship, wasn't he?" "Yes," the Admiral said. "And now we know he was not working alone. Someone outside is waiting for this ship to fail." Lena felt cold again. "Then we need to leave. The engine is almost repaired. If we finish the job, no one can stop us." The Admiral nodded. "Then we escape before they try again." Together they worked fast. Lena reconnected the final lines of the engine. When she activated the power core, the chamber glowed bright blue. The engine hummed with strong, steady life. "It's ready," she said, breathless. The Admiral opened the communication line. "Bridge, prepare for immediate launch. We are leaving the docks." The ship roared to life. Officers rushed to their stations. Engines thundered. But Lena stayed at the Admiral's side, holding her wrench like a weapon. She felt fear, but she also felt something stronger, a growing fire inside her. The ship lifted off. They were no longer safe. But they were no longer helpless either. The fleet was in chaos. The command ships were damaged. The fighters were scattered, and every mechanic was already busy with repairs. But only one person knew the real danger waiting inside the engines of the flagship. Elira, the human mechanic who had helped repair the ancient dragon ship. She had already proven her courage. But this challenge was bigger than anything before. She ran through the metal corridors, holding her small toolkit tightly. Every few seconds, the ship shook from weapon fire outside. Lights flickered, alarms rang, and smoke drifted through the air. She ignored all of it. She had one mission: save the engines before they exploded. When she reached the engine room, she froze. A giant dragon engineer was lying on the floor, hurt and unable to move. Sparks flew from a broken console nearby. "You came," the dragon whispered. "I'll fix this," Elira said, kneeling beside him. "No," he warned. "There's sabotage. Someone damaged the stabilizer coils. If you touch the wrong wire, the ship will tear itself apart." Elira swallowed hard. She was afraid, but she didn't step back. She scanned the room and quickly realized the truth. The coils were overheating, the coolant tubes were cut, and the energy readings were rising fast. They had maybe 10 minutes before the ship exploded, destroying the entire fleet in the blast. She opened her toolkit and began working. Her hands trembled at first, but she forced herself to stay calm. She remembered her training, her experience fixing small machines on Earth, and all the work she had done on the Dragon ship. Step by step, she repaired the coolant tubing. She could feel the temperature rising under her feet. The engines were getting hotter by the second. Suddenly, the door slid open behind her. A shadow moved inside. She turned and saw him, the saboteur, a dragon in black armor, eyes cold and sharp, holding a blaster in his hand. "You should not be here," he growled. "The fleet must fall." Elira's heart pounded. She didn't have a weapon. She had nothing except her tools. But she stood up anyway, placing herself between him and the engine controls. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Because only through destruction can we be free," he said. "The old leaders must fall." He raised a blaster. Before he could fire, the injured dragon engineer on the floor swung his tail, hitting the saboteur's legs. The blaster shot missed and hit the wall. Elira jumped forward with all her strength and threw her heavy wrench at the saboteur's hand. The blaster clattered to the ground. The saboteur roared and pushed Elira aside. She stumbled but didn't fall. She grabbed the nearest tool, a thick metal rod, and held it like a weapon. The saboteur lunged at her. She dodged and struck his arm. He hissed in pain. The engines behind them gave a loud warning. The temperature was now dangerously high. Elira didn't have time to fight. She needed to finish the repair. The saboteur charged again, but this time the injured engineer used the last of his strength to grab the saboteur's tail and pull him down. Elira rushed back to the console, ignoring the sounds of their struggle. Her hands moved fast, reconnecting wires, sealing tubes, and stabilizing the coils. She could feel the engine vibration change. The readings dropped a little. She was almost done. The saboteur broke free from the engineer and ran toward her, but Elira made her final move. She slammed the emergency coolant valve open. Cold blue liquid flooded the coils, and the engine roared back into balance. The saboteur reached her, but now several guards burst into the room and tackled him. Elira fell back, exhausted but relieved. The warning lights slowly dimmed. The engines cooled. The ship was safe. The Dragon commander arrived moments later. He looked at the repaired engine, the captured saboteur, and the tired human mechanic standing in the middle of it all. "You saved the fleet," he said softly. Elira shook her head. "I just did what I could." But the dragons knew the truth. She had done more than repair an engine. She had fought a saboteur, saved a starship, and protected an entire fleet with nothing but courage and a small toolkit. Outside the window, the space battle calmed. The enemy forces retreated, shocked that the flagship had survived. And the dragons now looked at Elira with new respect. A human had saved them all. She stood quietly, watching the stars, unaware that her name would soon be spoken across every star system. A small mechanic from Earth who saved a fleet of dragons.